We still have 4 blocks, and they can be of your choosing, or you can follow the pattern instructions for which particular blocks need to go in these corners. But each one of these is going to have a short strip sewn to the bottom. So the lower edge is going to have a short strip. And then on the edge, on the right side, you'll sew one of the longer strips. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these strips onto my blocks, and then I'll show you how to do the setting corners for the quilt. I have all of these extra blocks, my corner blocks, with the sashing sewn along the bottom first, and then the right side. So now we're ready to follow the steps to finish these triangle blocks. So your large green squares are going to be cut on the diagonal from corner to corner, much like we did in the smaller steps. So you're going to have 8 of those pieces, and with those corners that we've got the sashings on these 2 sides, we're going to add these triangles to the top and to the bottom to create a corner square. So we're going to turn this right sides together, and we want to be careful. This edge here is all on the bias, so keep that away from your ironing board. And we're going to sew all the way down this edge. We'll turn that and we'll sew on the other edge. If you stitched on both of your triangle sections, you're going to have a little piece underneath here that sticks out. You can trim that down. So here's one of our corner triangles. So now we have to add our tulip borders to this triangle section here. So you have your border pieces cut. You're going to have, and they've been cut down, and you want these oriented so that the tulips are going away from the corners. Okay, so you make sure that you've oriented those the direction that they should go. And you also need to make sure that enough hangs over on each corner so that you'll be able to miter that. Okay, so we're going to follow the same instructions and steps on mitering. We're going to put right sides together here. Make sure that you've marked 1/4 of an inch from your corner, and we're going to stitch this edge. I'm back here at the ironing board. My 2 seams have been sewn together, and you can see here that I've got my 1/4 of an inch space in between the edge and my borders. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold under this top one until those edges are even. All the way under, and look at all the way to the corner. And when I have it nice how I like it, I'm going to give that seam a press. Just like that. Now I'm going to take my tape again. And I'm going to tape that seam down so that that's not going to move in any way while I'm sewing. So where I'm going to sew is, you can kind of see my crease here. And if you need to, grab a pen, we'll mark this crease, and then we'll sew right on that crease line. So now we're ready to cut the Rex tool pieces for our final border. So you're going to lay this down on a piece of paper. And I have my paper square with lines on my mat. Okay, and I'm going to set my Rex tool right on top of this square. And I'm going to trace right along the outside edge, just to make sure that I know exactly where it needs to go if I accidentally move it. So you can see that this Tri-Rex tool is 6.5. We need it to be 7. So that's the 7-inch line mark that we're going to be following. So we're extending this 1/2 inch. So I'm going to take my little ruler here, and I'm going to line that up and just extend this line here. Now I'm going to follow that same angle as my Tri-Rex tool, and I'm going to finish and intersect those lines there. So when I set my Tri-Rex tool back down, the same spot that I did before, you should have a 1/2 inch extending. All right, so that's where we actually need to cut. It's a 1/2 inch longer. So I'll show you how to cut this and apply it to your tool to make it bigger for us to cut those pieces. So now I'm going to stick this to my tool with my painter's tape, and I'm just going to stick that down even with my paper template, just like this. I'm going to apply my Tri-Rex tool right on the end where it needs to be. So you can see I have my 1/2 inch of my paper extending here. And then I'm folding over that tape. So everything's even here. And nothing is going to slip on me. So I still have my nice cutting edge and my 1/2 inch extra that I need. So I've left my green segments folded the same way that they were cut. So they're wrong sides together. And I'm going to be using my newly formatted Tri-Rex tool to cut these angles. So because we made it a little bit longer, you can see that now the bottom edge of that new 1/2 inch that we created, and then the regular edge is right on top. So I'm going to continue to cut these, and on your first cuts you may get a little bit of that tape come off. Just going to rotate this first one so that I can get a nice finish here. Still cutting off that little nub and then extending it straight. So that's created 2 mirror image triangles. So I'm going to continue cutting these. Each time I'm just rotating my tool. I'm not flipping it upside down. So I'm going to take that, and when I get to the end, I'm not cutting through that paper, trying not to. Cutting off that little nub. So 2 more. I'm just going to continue doing this, rotating, not flipping. Cutting my angle, cutting off my little nubby edges. And you're going to continue cutting this. You will cut your background Tri-Rex the same way. Then we'll be ready to sew those together. So when we sew these together, we're going to get 2 different mirror image pieces. Okay, so these are, no matter how you turn them, they will be different. So I'm going to start with these, and we've sewn all the star points together, so it will be no different for us. We've used this tool before, making sure that when we position these, that flat side is right along the angle here. You should have a little bit of a triangle poking up out of this direction. And when you place your 1/4 inch presser foot right on that, you're going to get a nice angle on both ends. Be careful. All these edges are biased. Still, do not press these. So you're going to have segments that look like this. So you're going to stitch all of these pieces together. You're going to have 2 separate blocks, and we will alternate these blocks all the way around the edges according to the pattern instructions. I'll go ahead and sew another one of these together so you can see how those segments look. So those are your 2 opposite pieces. So they can be sewn together like this here. alternating every other block will be different to create that diamond shape. And then you're going to have 4 squares, 1 for each corner of your quilt. So I'll finish sewing these blocks together and then we'll be ready to finish that last border of the quilt. Hi, I'm Nancy Rathbun. Thank you for following us during the Tulip Festival Block of the Month. Your quilt top is now complete. You're ready to quilt and bind. Thank you.